Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Easter to you. Welcome to our Sunday session, 4th of April. It's 2021. Well, thank you for joining me here on this Easter Sunday afternoon, weekly time for exploring nature-centered folklore and connecting this within your favorite sanctuary space and expressing inspired visions that come to you within your sanctuary through your poetry, writing, arts, craft, performance, and problem solving. But I imagine for plenty of you, you're with the families as far as you can under the conditions, especially if you've got children, very much a children's afternoon. So I thank you and appreciate warm-hearted for those who are joining live this afternoon, because I know it is a holiday day and you'll probably be doing other things. And in much of Ireland, it's a beautiful day. The sun has kind of gone in. It's cloudy today. But today's Sunday session, I feel, is in tune in this time of Easter in the Christian world. And this is a resurrection and the three trees. And that's, you'll be familiar with that if you've seen the promotion for this. And this afternoon, I'm going to be exploring expanded thoughts and feelings about the resurrection at this time. And I'm going to be including the ancient folklore of the three trees of the bard. And that's in some regions, many regions, is pronounced as trees. But I know in some regions it's something like Trais. And sometimes I'm wondering if the word is correct, because Troy is more towards mystical and enchantment, whereas tree or Troy is more like tradition. So anyway, but that's what's written down is the three trees, the gorn tree, gold tree, and the thorn tree. So we'll stick to that this afternoon. And as this is about in ever-changing enchantments upon how we live, I'm going to stretch these three trees, the three I mentioned, beyond sound, beyond the cure, into how that affects us. Because, of course, when we listen to music, when we listen to sounds, it can adjust our attitude and our thoughts and our inspirations about how we live, and especially how we live according to how nature moves us. Now, today's guest there, I haven't got any live guests today because, well, as I say, people are celebrating. Those I invited live, they got children. They're going to be full of eggs and bunnies today. So I've got a couple of video guests for you. And that's going to include beautiful poetry from Fergus Hogan, who's been on live with us a few times and very popular. And a song for the spring sun from Claire Roach, and there's her with her Easter bonnet there. Absolutely gorgeous. So the topics today, I'm going to be doing an encore of a resurrection story that now I'm trying to line up a picture for this. I told it when I think I was first told this. Well, I told it to you last year, but this was a story. I'm going to tell you why and how. A story that I told when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And don't say it's not up. I'm looking through my pictures here, and so much for continuity. I think I've embarrassed myself. Oh, here it is. I'll say that again. It's an encore of a resurrection story I told, and I think I was 5 or maybe 6 years old. There you go. That's what it was like, the cheeky self, when I was actually telling this story. So much for the smooth transitions there. And it's a contemplation, as I say, of the three trees, the three strains of the bard, expanded into how we live our lives. And all this is amongst the joys of you, some of you watching, and a lot of you not watching, among the joys of Easter eggs and bunnies, and maybe some picnics and feasting at this time. Whatever you're doing and enjoying, absolutely wonderful. And there's going to be, I'm going to still put on a panel session. So please join in with your questions and get some answers. So let's see who's here for this wonderful Easter. I see there's a few of you here. Donna's here, the regular, lovely. Thank you. Happy Easter, Donna. Thanks for being here. And Sandra Elizabeth, medium, another regular. Fantastic. And there's Tina, who's gone indoors. You're getting the cold wind there, Tina, I assume. We were getting it for a while. Now it's warmed up a little bit again, thank goodness. But I was sitting here waiting to start, and I wondered, I went and rushed in and got a cold. Anyway, these Carrowcrory Sunday Sessions and Labyrinth Gardens, as I'm often saying, they're brought to you largely due to our Patreon subscribers. And some subscribers are watching here live today. So thank you for this constant support, as without it, I wouldn't be able to be here this afternoon hosting this, because there are quite hefty hosting fees now. So let's get on to my wee bit here. This time of year, people, they post photos, memes, videos, and articles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And it expresses their interpretations of Easter, the origins of Easter, and sometimes of the resurrection itself. And people love to relate to the symbols of this time. As I was saying, the eggs and the bunnies, of course, and the hares, the triple hair one. I won't go into an explanation of that this time. You can ask that questions if you like. But there's also the let's see if I can get the spelling. The Eostre, Eostre. And I think this is a picture. Yeah, here we go. There we go. Eostre, the Saxon Germanic goddess of the dawn of spring and the bringer of fertility. Well, that's it's claimed anyway. But there's something. This is something from that was brought to our attention by the mid-medieval scribe monk called Bede, who was scribing in Northumbria, and he wrote about Eostre. And there's an artist's impression of Bede scribing away there. But many scholars since have wondered if he actually made that up. And there's another inscription of Bede. So did he make up about Eostre? And to add to the folklore confusion, the Victoria writer Jacob Grimm, there he is, one of the Grimm brothers, and he wrote about Bede composing the word Eostre from a German folklore goddess called Ostara. But scholars could not verify that Ostara existed, but people have actually loved the Ostara story. Ostara, according to Grimm, well, was shown in that picture a bit, that she transformed a bird. I don't know what species of bird, but she transformed a bird into a hare. And that picture has got a bird and hare. And the hare started laying eggs. So that's where you get your bunnies and eggs, apparently. Thanks to Jacob Grimm. But add to this, we also have the earlier folklore from Babylonian times, Assyrian and Persian times, and we have the mythology of Ishtar, if I can find Ishtar. I've got some other things. There's one of Grimm's hares there. Got a picture of that. And it's also said another one I probably forgot to say is, according to Grimm, Ostara, or after converting the bird to a bunny, the bunny started laying multicolored eggs, and that's what that's there about. So anyway, go to Ishtar. There's an ancient picture of Ishtar. She was an ancient spring goddess of fertility, mating, and sex. But scholars doubt that she's actually associated with Easter. And here's a picture here of the Ishtar Gate in the ancient Babylonian ruins. In fact, there was actually a revival of Easter in Ireland that started, I think, it happened about 3 years ago when the pubs were allowed to open on Good Friday, but for COVID reasons, not allowed to open the past 2 Good Fridays. But people on Good Friday were coming out of the pubs early on Saturday morning, early hours of Saturday morning, and going around wishing everyone Happy Easter, Happy Easter. That's my story. I'm sticking to that one. Anyway, and then if they could still manage it, the fertility ritual returned when they got home. But I'm going to speak now about the resurrection, not the resurrection. And last year, for the resurrection of 3 trees, I told the story of my childhood initiation into reading through, having the Bible put before me. No Janet and John books, but the King James Bible, boom, put in front of me by my first stepmother. So I hope you don't mind me presenting a portion of that story again today. It'll save me repeating it. So here I am from last year. I was actually inside because it was cold, and I'm going to tell you how my own resurrection story and how I learned it and how I actually performed it. I trust you'll enjoy this. Let's see if I can get it going. Anyway, and it really starts off from my own childhood. My mother passed away when she was 4, and my father actually got married quite quickly afterwards to a woman who was very lively, very assertive, and she always wanted me to be top of the class before I even started school, so she got me writing and reading. And for the reading, it wasn't the usual sort of Janet and John books or the ABC books. She slammed down the King James Bible, which in a way was quite surprising. She was a Methodist, and I thought they used a more, what they call the modern Bible, something like that. Anyway, it was this King James. And I remember I got excited by the challenge of reading this. And I actually managed to work out the words and some sort of pronunciation of them. And as I figured all these words out, and I absolutely loved the challenge, and I'm surprised that even today that I'm not speaking to you with lots of these and thous and whence and hence and all those words that I was obviously learning as first reading words. But I got fascinated not because of the religion, not because of Christianity, but fascinated by these fabulous stories. And the one story that really got my attention was the resurrection, because it was going through my mind how many people were considering that everything was an end game. Today we sort of call it linear, that there's a start and that there's an end. And I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept that stuff came to an end, that somehow there was a cycle, there was a spiral that we always were part of. So when I read the resurrection, I thought, goodness me, this is pretty cool. Here is this lad, Jesus Christ, the crucifixion on Friday, but no, he was sort of taken away in a cave, and he actually returned to life, and to life forever, to infinite life hereafter, infinite life. I should know the biblical term for that, but that became obviously the cornerstone for the Christian religion, but understandably so. And then in later years, when you go to secondary school, high school, whatever, one of the first physics lessons you actually learn is that nothing is formed or destroyed. It's always changed into something else. And it was great to get that verification when I was at school. So to get on with the story of this, as I say, she got me reading and writing, but she got impatient with me because I was very much a child of wonder. And wherever I was going, I had to stop and look at things, and she used to get very irritated because she was off to go to somewhere. And at that time we were in the Yorkshire moors, between Baildon and Ilkley, a place called the Glen. Lovely place, because down in the valley there was water, there was a woodland, and I play in that. Or I'd be up in the moors flying my kite. It was a lovely start, I must admit. There were some challenges, but I'm not going to go into that in that story. And her mother lived in a sort of rural area in another direction outside of Bradford. And we go to Bradford, I don't know if it was once a week or every 2 weeks. And that was to do some shopping or errands. And to get from Bradford, she said it was a shortcut, but it was very pretty. And it was through a park, a lovely park. And it was this time of year, I don't know if it was Easter, but it was certainly very close to this. And we were wandering through, and there was a crowd of people gathered. And the crowd of people, it was a stage. And around the stage, there were people performing. Now, to backtrack a bit, where we lived in the Glen, we used to get home deliveries of various things, and most notable was the milkman and the baker. And the milkman was amazing. He was a young person, very much, I suppose, of the Teddy Boy ilk of the time. He had the wavy hair, and he always had the comb and the jacket, and always had a grin, always had this amazing grin. And when he first delivered, he was bringing the milk around with a horse and cart. Very dodgy if the horse bolted, but I think it must have been mid-50s. He was so delighted when they traded in his horse and cart for one of these drag-along electric milk floats. But he had hills to go up and down. I couldn't imagine that working out very well. And in fact, he didn't really have that long. I think it was about a year or so. And he got upgraded to one of these sit-on milk floats. And all this time he had the big grin and delivering some of the milk. He also had butter and so forth. And the baker, he was a grumpy old so-and-so. I don't know why. He just stuck to his horse and cart anyway. Anyway, though, there was this stage and there was stuff going on, and I was absolutely fascinated. There was music, there were songs, and me being the child of wonder, oh, what's going on? And there was my stepmother wandering on, turning around, stop your dawdling, come on, we've got to get going. We've got to get to your step-grandmother. But I just took no notice. I was just enchanted by this stage, and I had to go up close to see what was there. And on the stage was the milkman with his big grin, and he was singing the Tommy Steele song about singing the blues. Just say, this guy with a grin, I feel like singing the blues. I can't remember the lyrics of it now, but I just was sort of taken by this. So he sang this song, and he looked really good with his wavy hair and his nice sort of velvety collared striped jacket and big buckled belt and his extra tight turnover jeans, and winkle pickers, of course. And he held that, and everybody cheered. It seemed everybody loved the milkman. But on came after him was the baker, the miserable old baker, and I think he had his, I think it was his sister who worked at mill in Halifax, and she was there, and there was other women. They were kind of seniors in a way, and the baker, he was playing the guitar, and the women had washboards, and there was some fella there that had the tea chest with a broomstick handle and the singular string, boom, 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 and they were singing the Lonnie Donegan song, Putting on the Style. They were so funny because whereas the baker with his big grin, they were with the reverse grin, putting on the agony, putting on the style. That's what all the young folks are doing all the while. And I thought that was still fascinating. And obviously I'd been there a few minutes, just taken by this whole thing. And I looked around, oh boy, my stepmother had vanished, and I wasn't clear of how to get to my step-grandmother. Oh God, I sort of panicked a bit. Next thing, there was this giant man came towards me, and tallish man, well, for a little me that was probably that high, tall man, dark suit, it was one of the men in black, lifted me up, boom, and up the steps, boom, down onto the stage. What's all this? What's going on here? And as I turned around, there I saw the milkman grinning, and I didn't see the baker. Oh, I did see the baker. That's right. It was a reverse grin, but I was paying attention to the milkman because he was sort of a hero, an idol of mine at the time. And then I did actually caught sight the raging stepmother. Yeah, you wanted to get on with it, so you get on with it. You do something. You know, she was sort of doing the sort of cursing there. And this man in black, he sort of begged. I think he wore a Homburg, and he bowed down, and he had these microphone. And of course, in those days, the microphone, there was a long black thing, looked like they had white icing on the top. And what are you going to do, little man? What? Oh, goodness. And oh, I've got to perform something. Oh, dear. Oh. And I remember the day before at school, we had been learning the nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty. So I said, well, I'm going to do Humpty Dumpty. Oh, Humpty Dumpty, how lovely. And Milkman still grinning. I thought, oh, goodness me, I better do a good job of this. And Humpty Dumpty was up on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty, he had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. As I was going through this, I thought, how idiotic is all this? All the king's horses couldn't put Humpty together again. If the horses saw Humpty, who was a big egg, had got down there and was all smashed on the floor, they're going to lick it up and get there, because eggs are good for their coats, make the coats all shiny. So can't depend on the horses. And as for the king's men, austerity and all that stuff, no chance there. So poor old Humpty on the bottom. I thought, well, this is not good enough. So I went straight into my version of the resurrection story from the Bible that I was obviously very excited about. But in the story I told then, I had to do a continuity. So Humpty Dumpty actually became Jesus Christ. So Humpty Dumpty, I wasn't going to accept that he wasn't going to be repaired. And so in my story, of course in the Christian story, it'd be the angels come along, but because of what my uncles and aunts and various other relations on my father's side believed in, they believed in the guiding spirits and the guardian spirits. So to me, it was the guardian spirits turned up, and they kept Humpty Dumpty's spirit alive and calm. And their idea was to move him to a cave that was nearby, but because they couldn't physically do it, of course the milkman and the baker turned up, and they helped to move his remains into the cave. Whereas the guardian spirits, they actually aimed to repair Humpty Dumpty and reform him. But it was a transformation, it was a resurrection. Humpty Dumpty didn't become an egg again. What they made was a huge cloud. And they released this cloud, and this is the story I told on the stage, releasing this cloud that spread everywhere and sprinkled lovely fertilizing rain, and all these flowers came up. And meanwhile, the milkman and the baker, they actually collapsed the wall. And so there was no wall anymore. And like in all these stories, because there was no wall, no boundary, everyone lived happily ever after.
I hope you didn't mind me actually doing an encore of that one, but there you go. That's my version of the first time I told the regeneration story when I was sort of 5 or 6 years old. Right, going on, as I say, the title of this was The Resurrection and the Three Trees. Again, there was me at how it would have been at that time when I was lifted up and told that. Anyway, the three trees. Goodness, I'm trying to get my bearings here. I was supposed to have a picture to bring this on, but never mind. I had a picture, hopefully it was of the Doida, the Dagda, but somehow lost it. But I don't know where I picked this up from, but there is a phrase, obviously there was not straightforward language of the time of the Dagda, but this quote about the Dagda being the healer of each wounded warrior, the comforter of each fine woman,
and the guiding refrain that was over the blue water, giving sweet sounding music. And that was from, apparently that's a version from the book of the O'Connor Don. Anyway, the Three Trees itself, in any story, and if you're writing a novel or a short story, a book, or a theatre play, or even a movie script, there's a format. Even when you're watching the movie, there's a format that flows through all of this. And I love to consider the ancient trees just like this. I visualize the situations myself in a Breton law format. There's a Breton law. Not so much format, but in a mindset. Because the three trees to me were the enchanting strains of the bard, the ancient bard, through story, poem, song, music, whatever they enchanted people with. And most stories, they start settled and calm. We had Humpty Dumpty there in my version. He was sitting on a wall and he seemed very content there. And then that's his John Tree moment. And I suppose, like most of us, before the COVID came flying in, that's where we were. And with stories, even with the ancient bard days, they're not going to sell stories and get people's interest if they're just sitting there meditating, contemplating, everything's rosy. That doesn't get an audience, really. So there's got to be a challenge and a shocking moment when the calm is gone and a disaster evening. And even with Humpty Dumpty, he's just about to fall off there. And so we enter the gold tree time. There's a kind of a nice spelling of it for you there. But not only of challenge, gold tree, yeah, so I did get that right. And the gold tree time, not only of a time of challenge, but despondency, melancholy, and the feeling of how do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this pickle? And I think I've got something on the banners I put up for this, because I'm going to have to find out from scholars about this. As I say, we have the John tree, gold tree, and sun tree there. But I tend to wonder, because why is it the T and why is it not a B? That's the question I've got. Is tree or dree or troy or droy or trek or droy, because with a T, it's like it's traditional in some way, and D, it's mystical. So I got that. And if we got something like Jean Trek, that's kind of a celebration, tradition of celebration. And then Gotrek, that's a lament. If it's Gotrek Kjol, that's a lament. And the Sontrek Kjol, that's a lullaby. So that's anyway. If you any scholars amongst you, might be able to correct me on that one. I'll take that a bit further in the panel time, or I'll just pull it down right now and we'll follow it up. Just there we go. I was supposed to bring that up as well. But some people describe the John tree as light and gold tree as darkness. But I think it's unfair, and doing that's unfair on darkness to call that a kind of melancholy. And ever since I was a child, it's how people seem to lock themselves into a melancholy realm, I suppose. It irritated me. To me, when I first read of the crucifixion, it's as if people stop their lives there. And it's as if we have a belief in forcing an end game, like on this famous film. And we seem to be currently getting this expressed through, it's still happening. It was bad last year. It's still happening, getting this kind of crucifixion attitude expressed through conspiracy theories that are running rampant. Even the attitude with the burial, the grave, and a body being placed in it, that is the end of that person. But with everything, I tend to instinctively try and visualize the resurrection that's going on in any situation, that transformation, because nothing is destroyed. It's just changed into something else. Basic physics, first law of thermodynamics, which you're probably all very familiar with. That energy can't be created or destroyed and only changed into something else. It's a transformation realm. And this is the one I love, of all the trees, the Sion tree. the enchantment of the sleeping, of the dreaming, of the lullaby, as I mentioned as well. And within stories, everything starts with calm and content, even when we're watching a movie, and then challenges erupt, such as someone losing a home becomes ill, or a disaster happens, or sadly, even death. But to me, there's always a continuance to make this into a cycle. Many modern stories seem to leave us hanging in a disaster these days, which is a great shame. And they don't seem to find a resolve or a movement away from this. I think it's very sad with modern stories going in that direction. But to me, resolve and movement from challenge needs entry into the consciousness, our imagination, our inspiration, and our dreaming. And suddenly something surfaces, and I'm sure we've all been through this. Ah, yes, now that I get it. Now I can see and visualize what we do. And that's why I do those three kind of pillars at the beginning. The idea of taking something from the tradition, something from folklore, bringing that to your sanctuary, contemplating it. And from that contemplation, I find that's a wonderful tool for bringing a vision, bringing a prophecy of your present, and off we go forward. I'm going to talk more about this when we come back to Tree Sanctuary. I think it's in a couple of weeks. But anyway, this all reminds me of the Christian teaching of God always provides. And there was a monk that once told me when we were talking about that, he had some sort of challenge, and I said to him, yes, you believe God always provides. And he answered me, yes, always at the last minute. So after that calm challenge, at the beginning of the story, after the disasters and the solutions and resolve, the stories end, or they used to end, with everyone living happily after, didn't it? But you know, people do not just end up living happily ever after. And if we did live happily ever after, then we would never know what good times are, would we? Because it'd all be happily ever after. So we need those challenges, I think, to appreciate that. It's as if we need the gold tree to understand the geometry, and we need the sun tree as the twilight zone to transport us between those two realms of living. A sort of day and night, night and day kind of living. So there we had in my wee story, Humpty Dumpty and the story, all splattered and seemingly with no hope of recovery, but due to the amazing power of resurrection, was transformed into something wonderful. Any more comments? You're being a wee bit quiet there. Anyway, I would like to continue a bit more on the thoughts of resurrection. When I posted about today's Sunday sessions through the social media and through my newsletter, I must admit I was probably quite assertive in the description, and it did kind of upset some people, unfortunately. I was partially following up really on our conversation with Sarah and Seamus last week. They were the wonderful live couple of the Fairy Council. And during that Sunday session, and any Sunday session, I'm often inviting the idea of looking at challenging, invasive, abusive, and violent situations through the system of commandment, judgment, sentencing, and punishment, which is the sort of lifestyle that we seem to pass ourselves through. And there's a rock of commandments there. I had that illustration up. But comparing this to what we know and can find out about the Brehon Law application, which is a connection to nature. It's about counsel, mediation, and resolution through restitution. And there's some Brehon Law circle going on there, that even though they're not in a circle. Easter and resurrection does mean different things to different people. But I must admit that I tend to relate the commandments and judgment thing to the Good Friday symbolism, whereas that's Brehon Law to me is what the regeneration, Sunday, Monday, Easter. To me, that's how I interpret it anyway. There's a sort of joke that haunts me through this, and it was when comedian Bill Maher, American comedian, quipped, Republicans, they form militias, while Democrats, they form drum circles. And this must be a bunch of Democrats there, I suppose. Anyway, I think that that was a great sum up for what I was trying to share there. But what is also now echoing with me is a discussion I had last week with Seamus and Sarah about each of us having a bit of fairiness within us. But sometimes it's a challenge knowing how and why to express it. So a lot of us keep our fairiness sort of locked in. And I think the running theme of Carrowcrory Sunday Sessions, as I was saying, is to get to and express a bit more of fairiness in our lives. And I hope you find that these Sundays do encourage this. And next Sunday, I will be talking much more about this through Discovering the She. But before being forced into ascension into the she world, and I always love this cartoon of that, an ascension into the she world, all major religions seem to start with a simple person who lived a similar life to, I suppose, Jesus did, humble lives. Yeah, the church systems to me are like institutions that are towards almost like a militia style of command. And though I'm not referring to the community and fellowships of churches, which are wonderful human responses, of course, I've always liked, for instance, the churches where they have afternoon picnics. The morning meeting might be the institution, but the afternoon picnic is a fellowship, connection, communication, and counsel. And I believe a lot of our regular audience are out there on picnics right now. But it's when we leap out of our boot camp linear obedience suits. To me, this is what picnic's about. We're leaping out of that boot camp linear living into more of a free-flowing act of sharing. And this is, picnics is a time when we can really share our fairiness, I suppose. We can just the fun of it. The eggs and the bunnies and how we express that is a bit of our fairiness, isn't it? So this is me, in a way, going around in circles, attempting to offer perhaps a more unenlightened interpretation of the resurrection, engaging in moments of feeling free, perhaps reborn from the injustices of maybe politically manifest human-made laws that we follow as an institution, but ascending ourselves into something timeless, wonderful, engagement, the connection, all with the flow of life. So that's how I see it, going from the judgment and institution, and then our resurrection into our bit of fairiness and our connection with life, the bunnies, the eggs, and so forth. And someone posted on Facebook, it was in the New Normal group. Check it out on Facebook. And they claim how trees around, when there was a woman posted, I can't remember her name, but she was saying if she went for a walk, the trees were speaking to her through a wordless emotion, not through words, of course, but the emotion, she could understand it. And this emotion was to turn back and go home. And she did that. And by doing so, she avoided being stuck in the snow. And there was a snowstorm that came very soon after she was amongst these trees, because it was sunny like it was here this morning. And we're supposed to have snow tomorrow. So the same situation, maybe. So in that group, the New Normal, she was asking people, were the trees actually talking to her? What people have had that experience? You can perhaps put in your comments your experience of something like this. And others in the group then replied with similar experiences. And there was one person actually reminded that way back in 2004, when unfortunately Thailand, the west of Thailand, Phuket, etc., had that huge tsunami. But a lot of people actually started running for the hills before the tsunami actually occurred. And through interviews, those Thai people who did that, especially the rural people, said they did so because the trees told them to go to the hills. The trees warned them. And I think that's fascinating. But my own offering for that is there was not just the trees talking, it was suddenly our ability to tune into all life that's around us. And we may think it's the trees that are talking to us, as they are so big compared to us and full of all that strength. And they can make quite a noise when the breeze and the wind comes along, very commanding. So that affects us emotionally. What's going on? It's like a warning. But when we're in tune with such a situation, it's if we suddenly become instinctive weather forecasters, just like all the other animals. It's not just the trees, the other mammals in the woods, the mammals, the birds, the insects, and the reptiles all around us. They're feeling the same. It's this whole network going in, and they move for the best because there's this like consciousness of weather forecasting that goes on. So, but I do think our institutionalized education that we go through can suppress us from these ways and from these instincts. It brings us into the linear ways. I saw a meme again on Facebook was saying that what do we need to live? We need to grow food. We need shelter. We need herbs. And there was a whole list of things. And it said at the end, how much of these things are taught at school? None of them. Nobody learns these things at school. Well, they're starting to now. I do love the human ability to read and write because that's what we learn at school. But I feel we must never lose connection or deny our instincts. Our instincts, which to me, they flow in cyclical, spiral, and waveform. They're perceptions that are just going round and round, not the linear like we read and write. This is a reason why I love the current increase in forest schools and the more recently, the more hands-on and biodiverse eco-education. And it's going right up into adults, it's going right through the secondary schools. And I love that. So I suppose for Easter, we do not think much about the resurrection in the biblical story as we once did. I think we're thinking more about eggs and bunnies and picnics and sunny days and the good shared meal that we may have with people. And how resurrecting is that? It's brilliant, isn't it? And doing all those fun things, I think it's a lovely way of sharing our bit of fairiness. So, in our own way for a while, we ascend from the crucifixion, moments of our lives, more of a sanctuary of heaven within. And when we're in a sanctuary, to me, it is a heaven with all the honesty and love that we're sharing. And I say, I'll talk more about this in the next couple of weeks. But I'm blabbing and moving on. And we got some lovely video guests. And I want dying to move in. So I'm going to introduce the first one. Any more comments from you? Let's see if there isn't. There's not much chat going on. Happy Easter, Fergus is about. And happy Easter to Claire. Davina's here. And Claire Roach is here. So all our guest stars are here. We got Sheila Phillips-Stroft and Claire Kelly's here. So it's lovely. Thank you for coming here through this Easter time. And it's wonderful. I'm delighted that you're spending time here. And there's Easter Day Fergus from Claire. Great, because at this point, you're familiar, most of you, the followers of Sunday Sessions. When there's a good excuse, we'll get the poems of Fergus in here. And there he is. That's his avatar there, lovely avatar. And okay, I've got something from Fergus. He wasn't on live today. I know he's involved in something else. But he dropped off this lovely poem. So here we are, a lovely moment of Fergus Hogan.
Nature, revisited. When I fall from grace, the truth of my being, out of the story I imagined as real for myself, I return to nature. Between woods and water, I sit by the shoreline in silent retreat. I watch the sun rise and I watch the sun fall. I watch all the colours of the sky pass by. I make friends with the elements and weather. I welcome the wind and the rain and the sun. I pray to each one, giving thanks for their gifts. Blow these idle thoughts from me. Wash away my sins. Burn new life and love and light deep into my bones. Here, I am renewed in communion with nature. Here I talk with the mink and the heron who come to visit a while with the birds in the trees and the stones at the water's edge, and the trees and the water too, bearing witness till the end of the day when the lake swaps the moon for the sun and the stars up above dance with crayfish below. And I realize in this perfect union, nothing is asked for and nothing is taken. We breathe and live and let go, always together as one.
Now, wasn't that beautiful bit of Easter afternoon, bit of sauntering, bit of dreaming? Thank you for that, Fergus. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. And I'm sure you're going to have one or two comments about that. Fergus is still here. Lovely to be here. He's still there. Thank you for that, Fergus. It was wonderful, lovely scene, a beautiful sanctuary minute there. Thanks again. Well, on to our second guest here, and definitely a day and an afternoon, a lovely, relaxed afternoon to bring on a Claire Roach song. And to me, this is very fitting for an afternoon. This song goes way back. I've taken it from a YouTube before YouTube was even part of Google, and I'm trying to find up. No, I thought I had another picture. Anyway, without further ado, a beautiful moment from Claire here.
Golden cots near the feels beneath the sky, this earthly heaven. There are no people here to harm us. Do not fear my wild-eyed lover. Do not fear my wild-eyed lover. I will hold you close. I will hold you close. I will hold you close till the wind stops blowing for us.
Yes, back to me. That was beautiful, wasn't it? I absolutely never tire of that. Fields of Fazerel by Claire Roche. So that's actually performed in the Tower Church. It goes back a bit, but Claire performs it just as well now and just beautifully. And I noticed the watching numbers went up when Claire was on, which was fabulous. And there's Linda Quinn Jervis saying thank you. And there's Davina, love this heavenly voice there. And thank you very much for that. And there's Terilyn Fern Mudge, who's just joined the show. So, Terilyn, I hope you're here from the beginning in the archive. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for the people who have been coming on at that point for the well, do catch Fergus a bit earlier as well, and worth going through. And there's a love from Tina there, and Claire, so peaceful. It was beautiful video of Fergus's poem a little bit earlier, and very beautiful there as well. And I suppose, yeah, if you didn't catch that. With Fergus, Nature Revisited, and I'm sure you'll play the archive to see that again. Let's see if there's other comments from me. Use this time, as I say, this is normally panel time. Any questions, any experiences, resurrection, your interpretations, any questions, any thoughts? Let your fairiness come out for a couple of minutes, and let's have a chat on the resurrection. And you can go through anything. You can go through the fun of the Gauntry, the celebration, or even your contemplations through your Gauntry, and your dreams and your lullaby through your songtree. So let's see what you got to say over the next couple of minutes. We've got a few comments rolling in, which is beautiful. Well, what's this? Let know, John, where you're listening. Yes, or watching. And there's Fergus loving Claire there. Donna's enjoying that, Claire's music.
And yeah, keep all the comments, you know, even on Claire's music. It's not just about regeneration. I'm sure several of you have been regenerated there for a lovely 5 minutes of Claire. And there's Claire is thanking everyone. There you go. So, and Tina and Ethereal. And this is definitely the highlight. So there we go. And I shouldn't say that. Fergus was the highlight with me as well. I have to watch what I say on this. Yeah, definitely go back and watch Fergus. That's going to be the lovely part of this archive. The fact that you can, the latter part of this, you can repeat it as often as you like. Absolutely fabulous, because it's going to be archived forever, which is gorgeous. Any questions and thoughts? What are you up to this afternoon? Are you out there chasing bunnies? Are you out there trying to find eggs? Are you having a picnic? We did have lovely sun. Sun's coming back out, and it is getting a little warmer again here with Carrowcrory, which is very nice. I thought it was going to freeze at one point. And spring is here. The earth renews. That's what now for all our beloved goddess we give 1,000 thanks. There's Shane there. I'm missing our YouTube people. I hope YouTube haven't stopped. We haven't got our YouTube comments. Where's Big Bear? We haven't had the people through the meetup. Maybe they're all busy. So I hope YouTube is getting this loud and clear, which is very strange that we haven't got them. Anyway, I do appreciate all you people through your Easter afternoon joining in with this. But I'm not surprised. There's Tina. She went out, did some guide replanting. And well, this is one of the advantages, of course, of the archive, which is kind of intruding a bit live on this Easter, but I'm so pleased you're here. Thank you. So I trust you've enjoyed the Resurrection of 3 Trees and the gas videos. So these Carrowcrory, as I say, these Carrowcrory Sunday Sessions, they're brought to you thankfully through the use of the Patreon subscribers, which is really helping me along here. That's joining the Facebook group. That was, yeah, do that as well. And Patreon, that's how we get funding to pay the subscriptions, put on these videos, and put on photos. And so thank you very much. That's what keeps us going. Anyway, as I mentioned at the start of these sessions, Carrowcrory Sessions, I'm developing the She, Water and Folklore course slowly, but this weekly show, putting this together, I slow this down a bit. And of course, we're all out in the garden when we can. Coming up on Sunday Sessions, the 11th of April, which is next Sunday, we do have the, if I can get up to our avatars for this, we do have, there we go. This is the one I like to use, Discovering the She. And that's their lady walking around the tree labyrinth garden here, because the leaves will be, if I'm outside next week, you'll start seeing leaves behind me, which is very nice. And I'm looking forward to that. Makes this whole presentation far less naked than what it is now. And the buds are actually out around with this willow cairn, and probably from next Sunday, if we can be outside. And it is a good forecast next Sunday, or I might be surrounded with more leaves. And one guest that's booked next week, I'm going to do the She, the Discovery of the She. But we've also talking of harps and the strains of the bard. Bards and harps, they go together. So I want to bring this in because it's very she-like. And we got Brian Callan, the harp maker, who will be introducing his harp making craft. And this is Brian after a couple of years of COVID lockdown, but he's still making these harps, and wonderful craft. You might have seen him on Nationwide. There was a lovely little introduction. But before Brian is live, we will continue with the fairiness and the she presence and indulging in that, and all the images that we give to that. And then on the 18th of April, I talked about that in 2 Sundays' time, it's Tree Sanctuary
uncurling. Now, with this, during the last tree sanctuary session, mid-March, we had it. The focus then was on the sanctuary creation, maintenance, and what you're going to do to build your tree sanctuary. So it was very much hands-on. But for this session, we're going to focus on using your tree sanctuary or garden sanctuary as a retreat. And then on the 25th, this was popular last year, is, oh yeah, there we go. All you need is trees. That's definitely the thing. And 25th of April is food sovereignty or food security. And now the one thing that definitely the COVID time has done is encouraged millions of us to look at our gardens, look at the garden. A lot of lawns have disappeared in the last couple of years. And either people have been growing food or they've just let biodiversity move in, just let the lawns, just nature take over. A lot of people join the We Are the Ark group. So there's either wilderness, there's pollination, plants, more of those going on, more hedges being built. People are planting more trees. They're coming to the end of that season, and now people are indulging in the garden. So we'll be looking at that. This huge food sovereignty that we've moved into, and we'll talk about that and compare it to the attitude of food security. And anyway, what it really is can our local gardens and local produce movement replace much of our dependence on the current food security system? So there's going to be quite a checkup on that. So that's what's coming up on the upcoming Sunday sessions. As I say, hopefully outside next week, because the forecast after we got a rough week coming up, which is supposedly snow on Monday night, Tuesday morning. But then it will warm up again, hopefully for the next Sunday. So we've got Sharon McNichol here. Happy Easter. Sorry a bit late. No apologies for being late. This is Easter Sunday. And I'm just grateful for anyone, even for a few minutes. The archive is there and you can watch back soon. And Fergus is wishing everybody a happy Easter. Love. Thanks again, Fergus and Donna. Not much going on today. We might work outside. Enjoy. You got a pretty day. Well, that's good. Flowers and trees and showing some greens. Same here as well, which is a joy to see and a joy to indulge in, isn't it? We love Sunday mornings with the adopted grandpa. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Because my grandchildren, who I'm going to get videos and stuff of their egging and stuff today a bit later in Scotland. The adopted grandpa from Ireland. Hope bold enough to say that again. Shall I change my name from Woodland Bard to Grandpa from Ireland? The Woodland Grandpa from Ireland. So anyway, your views on that, you can throw that in the comments. Am I the Woodland Bard still, or am I the Grandpa Woodland Bard, or the Grand Woodland Pa? Oh, I don't know. Come up with the ideas on that. I wish I had a prize to give away on that one. Thank you again. Thank you for the Estiva family there. I think you now, where are you? Are you actually in Mexico? I'm not sure. New Mexico. I know you're in that sort of region somewhere. Anyway, what else we got here? Terralyn, we're starting our planting season. One of our practices is to touch the seeds with your tongue before to connect the spirit of the seed. Well, that's I haven't heard that's. I used to hear a lot of that as a tradition, and great to do that. And certainly by dampening them and the blessing and appreciation, it is a beautiful thing to do. And I can imagine there's some hidden practical benefits from doing so. Brilliant. And there's thanks for doing this. We're going to do some pioneer place where the people live like they did 100 years ago. They have real working farms. I gather that's in Carolina somewhere, so look forward to your blogging and tales and posts about that, Davina. Thanks very much for sharing with that. Again, all these, and even Donna's got bunnies running around. She actually has real. I was hoping the hares here would be about, but they don't seem to appear here in the afternoon. We rarely do get rabbits here. But lovely. And some people, neighbors around here, have been installing hen houses. They're brave because we got the pine martins and foxes here. So I hope they're okay with that, but it's definitely a thing been going on. Last year, it seemed to be a lot of people were putting beehives in around here. Today, this spring, it seems a lot of the projects is with hens and ducks. And I'm not surprised the foxes and pine martins are going around looking well fed at the moment. So I hope yours are all safe if that's the project you got. Though I noticed they have high fences, but I know the pine martins are pretty good climbers. So keep yourself secure. And all I do is wish you some great eggs, yield of eggs this year. Let's see. Husband Rodrigo from Mexico talked about microgreens and playing flute, focused on food sovereignty. Well, there's an idea, because from time to time I get into microgreens fad myself, especially in winter when you can't grow anything outside. The microgreens is a great thing, and sprouting, of course, is a great indoor thing. But I was looking into that idea because I'm kind of missing the fresh greens. When greens, they don't really start coming up outdoors here till June, and microgreens is something you get going. Yeah, I'll take you up on that one. Let's have be great to have Rodrigo on as a guest to talk about that. Fantastic. I'll message you later on that. Pioneer Village, interesting to see. Again, like to hear about that, and maybe you'll be on live, Davina, about telling us something about that pioneering village. That would be a lovely thing to do. Anyway, thank you again, all of the video guests today, Fergus Hogan and Claire Roach. And thank you so much. Thank you all for being with us on this and taking some time out on this Easter Sunday. Absolutely fabulous with it all. And the sun is out. I'm just bathing in the sun here and just going into a dream myself. But if you're watching this as an archive after this live broadcast, keep your comments coming. I'll still come back and read them. That'd be great to see. And please subscribe. There's bell icons on the YouTube. I think Facebook has them, and that'll get you messaged with next details of each Sunday sessions as they come along. So enjoy a safe week. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy your fellowship, whether it's with the people, whether it's with your children, the few people you can be with, whether it's amongst your plants, amongst your trees, amongst your lovely meal that you're going to have later with, or your picnic, even if you're having tea and sandwiches and afternoon tea by yourself. There's still a lot of inspiration and enchantments. So until next Sunday, everybody play well. Thank you for being here this Easter afternoon. And it's bye from me. Bye.